Hey college kids, how's it going? My name's Amy Lumley. I am the instructor for this course. Today we're going to talk a little bit about fundamentals of chemistry, a little bit about the background about what you need to know to be successful in this course. So as we've established, I'm Amy Lumley. I'm the instructor. Now here are a few ways that you can get a hold of me. My office is actually inside the chemistry lab. It's room 202B. I will not be up there a whole lot during the summer though. So if this is a summer course, it's best to email me. My email is listed in the center. It's amyl@coffeyville.edu. I do check my email frequently. I'll get back to you pretty quickly. You can also call me. There's the number 251-7700. My extension is 2180. Again, during the summer, I might not check it really often though. So your best bet is to email me. And if you'd like to talk to me, we can set up a time for us to communicate that way. I also have this site, it's called remind.com. What this is it will send you a text message. So if I want to say, hey guys, there's a lab due, or remember unit one's due today, or hey, this question came up, you can sign up for these texts. To be able to do that, the message that you send is @funchem, no spaces in there, and you're going to message it to 81010. There we go, 81010. Or here's the long number, 571-210-0053. Now, just a warning, if you have an Apple, sometimes they don't like that short code. Sometimes they prefer the longer one. All right, now that we've established who I am, let's talk about what you need for this particular course. The first thing, you need the textbook. The textbook that I've chosen to use is called Visualizing Everyday Chemistry. I like this text. It is a pretty easy reading text. It has some math, but it's not really heavy on the math. And it also provides a lot of ways of how chemistry relates to your everyday life. It has some great pictures in there. The pictures in this text actually relate to what's going on in the chapter. Read about those pictures. There's a ton of information in there. You'll need a calculator. I recommend that calculator. I require that calculator needs to have a 10 to the X button, and you need to learn how to use it. Actually try it out. Sometimes I'll have students that come to the test and they're like, I don't know how to use my calculator. It's too late then. Try it out. Each one's a little bit different. So yeah, be sure to use it. And the last thing it says is patience and perseverance. So some people take to chemistry really easily. Some it's a little more of a struggle, especially at first. For my students, some of you have had 1 year, 2 year. I've had students with 3 or 4 years of chemistry in high school. And then I've had some students without any chemistry at all. I don't want you to be scared of chemistry. If you've had a lot in the past, parts of this class will be somewhat of a review. But even though it's a review, there's still more that you can learn. Add to your knowledge. If you've never taken chemistry before, it's okay. We're going to learn a ton this particular semester. So let's see what we're going to cover this semester. The first, we're going to talk about the basics of chemistry. What are elements? What's the periodic table? How do we use the periodic table? How do elements come together to form compounds? And what ratios will they react? How can you name them? How do you calculate pH? How do you calculate the number of moles in a substance? We have some of those basics. But then we get to talk about some things that I don't necessarily get to talk about in Chem 1. We get to talk about organic chemistry. That's the study of carbon-based compounds. If you get into the biological fields, you will use this idea of organic chemistry. We'll talk about nuclear chemistry. So how can we be sure that a nuclear power plant won't act like a nuclear warhead and blow up on you? What makes it not want to do that? We're going to learn about the math of chemistry. Now, I alluded to that a little bit earlier, pH calculations, mole calculations. This class is not as math-based as a traditional Chem 1 class, but you will have a little bit of math in here. And then finally, we have consumer chemistry. This is the fun part. This is what sets this class apart. We're going to talk about how some people have straight hair and some people have curly hair, and why is there a difference, and how I could take my straight hair and actually make it curly. We're going to talk about the energy of food. We're going to talk about your proteins, your carbs, your proteins, carbs, and fats and oils. And what is the difference between a fat and an oil? That's the consumer chemistry. That's the part that's going to affect your everyday life. No matter what fields you go into, yeah, you're going to deal a little with chemistry. Because I'm going to let you in on a secret. Nothing is chemical free. There's chemicals in everything. I'm sitting on chemicals. I'm sitting on a chair right now. Oh, so we're going to see how it affects your everyday life. Now, this question always comes up. Hey, Miss Lumley, I need Chem 2. Can this count as my Chem 1? The answer, no. No, won't work that way. This is considered to be an introduction to chemistry. This is not Chem 1. Chem 1 is the first part of a 2-semester series for majors, Chem 1, Chem 2. If you're going to be a doctor, you got to take regular Chem 1 and Chem 2. If you are going to be a nurse, they actually like you to have this class instead. Most places, not all. Because we do get to talk a little bit about organic chemistry. So it depends on what major you're getting into. Please, please, please look at what you want to do. Pick out a couple of the schools that you want to go to. Look at their schedule on what classes they're going to require and make sure you're in the right one. Please. It'll save everyone a bunch of heartache. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you still need to take Chem 1 and Chem 2 and are aware of that, but you want to start with this class, that's fine. This will give you a great background to get you ready for that Chem 1 class. All right, so really important. How is this class set up? How is it going to be different than a traditional on-campus class? And how in the world are we going to do labs if we're not actually going to be in the lab? So here we go. We have two parts to this class. We have the lecture portion and we have the lab portion. The lecture portion, what I have is I've set it into 5 different units. Each of those units has 2 or 3 chapters in it. Each of those chapters has a chapter quiz. Now the chapter quiz, a lot of them are vocab based. So do you know what the terms mean? Some will have some other types of questions, but they'll be pretty basic. Now you can take these quizzes as many times as you want, but you do have to wait at least half an hour before attempts. So keep going until you get your 100% on there. It's a good way to help boost your grade. Once you feel comfortable with the chapter, you also have a chapter test. So you will have 2 or 3 chapter tests per unit. Now the chapter test can only be taken once, so be sure that you're ready for it. Students in the past have commented on my tests that they're not straight out of the book. They are application based. So I might, let's say for instance, we'd studied the periodic table. We've learned the names of all the different groups. And then later in the chapter, maybe even the next chapter, because we build upon our knowledge, we talk about Lewis structures and how many dots are around different groups in the periodic table. Well, on the test, I might combine those 2 topics together and ask a question about. I might say, well, how many dots would be in the Lewis structure of a halogen? And so then you would have to realize that the halogen is group 7A or group 17, and it has 7 dots around it. And so you would have to relate those together. or I might ask how something would be used or what would be an example of this. So just be prepared for that. The other thing in class is that we have a lab. Now, this semester I've chosen to do what's called late night labs. This is a virtual lab, so you will log in. You will be able to walk into this virtual lab. You will be able to virtually pull stuff off the shelf and chemicals off the shelf and pour them into the containers. You'll have a lab book that's going to lead you right through this. Now, a couple of words of advice for you. As you're going through the lab, as you're performing the lab, it's going to say stop and record an observation or something to that effect. That means that you need to stop. You're going to open up this other tab. It's called your notebook or something like that, and you're going to make an observation. That's part of your grade. And then at the completion of the lab, then there's a little quiz, questions, whatever you want to call it, that's going to talk about what happened in the lab. What type of results did you get? What did you learn from those results? What did those results imply? And so you're going to answer those. Your grade is based on making observations in the notebook and your answers to those questions. So you'll have a bit of both. Now, this is I'm still a pretty new user of late night labs. So if you have any problems, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to ask or comment or send me an email. I want to make sure that this is the right solution. Now, I may have a couple of other activities for you to do, but you won't come to campus and do any what we call wet labs, where there's actual chemicals on the table in front of you. You will be doing all of that virtually.